Hey, how's it going? I'm Ben from Universal Audio, and today I'm joined by Tyler from the YouTube channel Music Is Win. And we're going to show you guys how to reamp guitars with UAD in real time using the Apollo X4 and the aux amp top box. So how's it going today, Tyler?
It's going awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well, man.
I'm ready to reamp some guitars.
This is a way to both commit and not commit at the same time. So what we're going to be able to do is we're actually going to record both the clean DI signal that's ready to be reamped again, but we're also going to go ahead and reamp it in real time, so that way you can play through UAD effects that are then going to the amp and then coming back in, and we'll be able to record both clean and affected both at the same time.
So you're just getting the most possible bang for your buck for the one take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to some people this may feel like a little bit of overkill, but if you're like me, I like to tweak.
Oh yeah, I live by this motto. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
That's true. All right, so a good place to start would be to kind of tell everybody about the setup that we've created here.
Yeah.
So we've got your Telecaster, and right now we're going straight into the Deluxe Reverb, which is plugged into the aux. And the aux is coming back to our Apollo X4, and that's what we're going to be hearing right out the gate. Awesome. So now I'm just going to grab a 1/4 inch, bring it straight into our high Z. And if we have everything set up correctly, this should just work. Let's see. Let's add a little bit of gain. There we go. So now we got a matched clean tone. I added, 22 dB of gain on here. But the whole point is we just want to make sure it's a carbon copy of the tone without really changing the sound too much, at least at the get-go.
Sounds pretty similar to me.
Yeah. So now that we've got your guitar plugged into the high Z input on the X4, what we're going to do is create a send. I'm going to use cue number 3. And what that's going to do is if I come over here to cue outputs, I can say cue number 3, make it source, make it listen to cue number 3, and I want that to send to output line 3-4. So line 4 on here is what's feeding the reamp box, and the reamp box is now
reamping in real time.
Exactly. So let me mute the dry signal here, and now you should be able to see on the aux line in, we're getting your clean guitar with the same tone that we just heard. There we go. So now guitar, X4, X4, reamp, reamp to the Deluxe, Deluxe to the aux, aux back to the X4, X4 to the speakers, and it sounds just as good as it did before.
And the thing that I think is different than traditional reamping or what you may think of when you think of reamping, this is happening in real time, and I think we should emphasize that. It's not something that you record DI and then have to do it over again. It's happening simultaneously, which is the cool thing.
Yeah, that's kind of special. That's something you can only really pull off with something like an Apollo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't just stop there, because now we can go into console, we can start adding effects to this signal.
Yeah, so, who wants a dry signal? Let's put some sauce on it.
Exactly. So I mean, we're playing guitar. Where else would we start besides, I don't know, distortion?
I would say that's a good place to start. That's nasty.
That's what you would expect, right?
It's like I have a rat in front of the amp.
Absolutely. So, I mean, another common thing that you would probably chain either on your pedal board or use on your amp would be like a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
A really good one that fits the guitar vibe would be something like the Galaxy Tape Echo. And this is going to kind of point out another one of the advantages of doing this in the box is now you can tempo sync your delays. So if you've got a BPM, put here in the console, say 100 BPM. Let me turn this on to a reverb echo program with 8, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of echo, and let's see what that sounds like. That sounds sick.
I'm in a wall of sound.
Right? That came together real fast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. So like we mentioned at the beginning, one of the advantages of doing the reamping the way that we're doing it right now is that if we go into Pro Tools, we can actually create 2 audio tracks. So one's going to be on mono, and this is just our guitar DI. And then the second one is the reamp signal already. So guitar, reamped. And I can set this to input number 1. I can set this to line 3, 4. And record enable both of those. And now we can record both tones simultaneously.
Let's see which one we like.
Let's try that out. Perfect. So now we can play back the reamp.
Ooh.
I don't know which one I'm going to go with.
A pinch harmonic on a DI. There's no sweeter sound.
Right? So this allows you to preserve both copies of it. You can go back in after the fact with the DI track and put like a guitar amp emulation on it. Or if you really wanted to, you could feed it back out to the same reamp system that we have.
And use a different amplifier.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to use this trick all the time for creating guitar doubles, when, especially when tracking like a trio or something like that, where you want to have some of that stereo width happening. What I'd do is I'd track their amp, but I'd always make sure to definitely take a DI. And then when they'd come in the control room, I'd put like a guitar amp effect, pan the 2 across, sometimes put like maybe like a 10 or 15 millisecond delay, so they're not...
So it's not phasing or anything.
Exactly. Left, right, all of a sudden you just get this huge stereo image that they were like, whoa, that sounded way better in the control room than it did in the live room.
That's a sweet trick. I'm going to steal that. That's great.
Yeah.
I didn't even think to use it that way.
Right? Gives you a chance to explore so many more creative options, especially guitar players when they're setting up like a home studio. This could be kind of a configuration that allows you to quickly plug in and get going, but if you'd leave this reamp setup just kind of going at all times, you can just as easily quickly plug in here, plug into your favorite amp using the reamp box, and then just go. And again, get the same flexibility, but just leave it all set up in between. You know, this is kind of an example using typical guitar pedals, but if we got UAD effects, like, why wouldn't we?
I know where you're going with this.
You know where this is going, right?
This is going into a weird place that I'm gonna like.
So what's great is, you know, something like this, like the MXR Flanger doubler.
That's grindy and gritty.
Right? How about some KORG SDD-3000? Just add some delay on that.
Yeah, let me get this.
That sounds sweet.
We're floating.
We're floating on air. That's it. I love this delay, man. Like, it's like that great, like, edge, you know, kind of 80s
It's
delay.
very round and warm.
All right, so we've explored some guitar pedal tones, some studio effects, but another really famous example of kind of studio effects for guitars was using the Eventide harmonizers back in the day. Have you ever messed around with this? This is the H910. So by default, it doesn't really do a lot, but once you start diving into some of these presets, you'll find some really wild stuff.
All right.
Super practical, right?
Well, for a film scoring person, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got some wild effects, but I really like this one. This is called Lonely Hearts Solo. It's kind of funny, like, you know, the pitch tracking, it's not quite as good as the modern units, but that's kind of the charm of something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is you're getting these like classic studio effects that have, you know, warts and all, really.
It's true too that because if it's too polished and, you know, it sort of loses its soul.
Yeah.
Not to sound like a total loser, but I think there's something for having to work to get a good sound sometimes, you know? Mm-hmm. Because it shouldn't work over everything, or else it's just like auto-tune for your guitar. Mm-hmm. But if you can find like that one special thing that it does, which I messed around for 5 seconds, but diving into that sound, you could probably create like some really cool riffs and things like that.
To me, like that's kind of the whole point of even, you know, kind of exploring things like this, right? Is like, I want sound to inspire me to inspire the music. Mm-hmm. And especially as an engineer producer, like that's all I ever want to give to a musician is like.
It sounds cheesy, but it is true.
It's so true, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, when you're hearing things back, especially obviously something like this, like you're gonna play a different way when you're getting harmonized. You're gonna play a different way when you've got delay kind of there to play around with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this, you know, making decisions like this, it really does inform a lot of what you're gonna do as a musician. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love the harmonizer, but there's one other one that I think is really special for a guitar, and it's gonna make it a little funky, but in a good way. That's the Moog filter. We're gonna use this kind of as like an envelope filter.
Okay.
Get a little funky with it. So I'll put it up into notch mode, keep it on 4-pole, pull that cutoff down, put the resonance up, give the envelope here. Let's make it on the fast mode. And then basically with the Moog filter, all you gotta do is you gotta turn up the drive until it's really starting to activate the envelope. Mm-hmm. Then you're starting to get a nice little auto wah, or auto filter kind of thing. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, man.
Ooh.
Right?
It makes me, and that was on the bridge. Mm-hmm. We go to the neck.
Ooh.
It's just got a little different kind of frequency in there, and something about these specific plugins you don't necessarily find in the suite of other, you know, brands that may make plugins. Like some of these are just old school, you know?
Yeah, especially like this, man. This is like the classic Moog filter, which, like, you know, you can get those old school Mooger kind of pedals that, and this model's the same sort of stuff. So, you know, the thing that really turned it on is when I hit the +20. So just gave it that extra gain, that extra drive, which is now triggering the envelope, but it's also giving us a little bit of dirt, a little bit of crunch inside of the filter, then going out into the amp where it's also getting a little bit of, you know, a little bit of drive, a little bit of girth, and then into the aux. Again, each thing kind of adds onto the other, and we're creating this Really cool, really unique tone.
And the interesting thing too is with the DI and the reamped sound, you can actually even blend those together if you wanted to and create an entirely different beast.
Yeah, cool. So this is kind of, so far we've done, we've been adding effects in between, similar to like how we would on a pedal board. But I had this wild idea a little bit earlier. What if we go even crazier and do a guitar amp into a guitar amp?
I like where your head's
into
at.
the aux, into here, and just drive it, just go heavy, just gain on gain on gain. My mind jumps straight to like something like the Diesel. There's also the Fender 55 Tweed. But
I mean, Diesel might be the greatest name for an amp ever.
Right?
So
let's give that a shot. Let's go channel 3, crank the gain, bring in some power soak, and blast it.
yeah,
Shred City, right?
That's where we are.
Yeah. So the Diesel is basically our preamp in a way, going into the Fender, which is serving as the amp, which is driving the aux, which is pretending to be our speaker. But the nice thing about having the aux as part of this chain is now we can actually play around with different speaker cap configurations and different microphones, and
which is really the kind of cream of the crop part of the aux, as far as I know. Like that's the whole room emulation and everything like that.
Exactly. So we can go to something like, oh, I don't know, like how about like a 4x12? Let's try this thick guy here. Yeah. So
yeah, that sounds sweet.
Right?
Definitely a completely different feel than the first tone.
Totally.
Just with the change in the cab and the rooms.
Exactly. And bring that room tone in, now it sounds like we're in the middle of Studio 610, like with a cranked amp. But in reality, we're nice and quiet. Like, it's very reasonably quiet in here.
Yes.
I love it. Maybe the last touch that we could put on this, how about let's go overkill with the AKG spring. Take it out of wet cello, and as you play, I'll kind of tweak with the decay time and the wet dry, and see if we can find something that really fills up the rest of the space.
There's some. That's like we're in a chamber somewhere in the medieval times.
Exactly. A metal chamber.
Yeah.
Dude, this has been a fun exploration of some of the possibilities that you can do with reamping in real time using UAD and the aux.
I'm going to go home and go into the lab and experiment with all these new learnings.
That's awesome. If you guys at home want to learn more about any of the products that we featured here today, just head to uaudio.com and you can learn all about the Apollo X4, the aux amp top box, and of course, the amazing UAD plugins. So till next time, see you later.